This video is brought to you by the rat that lives in the vent under my house that drives my dog crazy. Get out of here, rat! But also thank you for your sponsorship. Shazam is a movie, and like some movies but not all movies, it contains a number of Easter eggs, both blindingly obvious and so subtle that they can just whip past you like a fast thing, like a fast carrot. So here, in great spoilery detail, we're going to be breaking down as many as possible. Some character related, some comic related, some universe connections, and of course the post-credits scenes. Now, if you are here for a specific type of reference, well, the good news is that these are the topics that will be covered, and there are time codes in the description if you want to jump to what you're after. And so with that, let us begin this video. More so, because it's already started. Hello and welcome. Right, characters. So this incarnation of the character is never actually called Shazam or Captain Marvel, his original name. There's a big story involving litigation and naming rights, which I won't get into, for why he was one thing and then another, but he officially became Shazam in 2012. His powers include the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, the wisdom of Solomon, not evident in the film, the strength of Hercules, and the speed of Mercury. The god, not the planet. Though maybe it is the planet because I just looked it up, and Mercury travels at 112,000 miles per hour, which is so much faster than most carrots. His nemesis, Dr. Savannah, has ranged from mad scientist to evil archaeologist Magic Man, and of course with him comes the 7 deadly sins. We also get the wizard Shazam and the Council of Elders, albeit dead, and also a nod to Black Adam. Let's stop on him for a moment because Black Adam is going to get a lot of play in the near future. Dwayne Johnson has already been cast in the role in what seems like 100 years ago, and the idea is that he's going to become somewhat of an anti-hero down the line. We do get a specific reference towards him when the wizard Shazam is talking about previously imbuing a person with power, only for that person to then use that for hate and revenge, which in turn releases the 7 deadly sins. There's also a solo movie of him in the works, so look forward to that if it ever happens, which it probably will because it's The Rock. I mean, they made Skyscraper. Billy's new family is taken directly from the comics, which seems like the perfect time to talk about the comics. This story is based almost entirely off Jeff Johns' New 52 Shazam run. Billy's siblings are directly lifted from that, ethnicities and all. We get Darla always hugging, them zapping money out of an ATM, Billy beating up some bullies, the subway escape, trashing a car, and of course his whole family being gifted with the powers of Shazam. But of course there are also many differences, including how the main villain from that story is Black Adam, plus the 7 deadly sins are trapped in regular people, not statues. Plus in the comic they have more distinct visual representation, as opposed to the kind of more uniformed monster look that we got. Also, one of the post-credits scenes, which we'll get back to, that's ripped straight out of this comic. But there's also other comic influences aside from the New 52, including testing if Billy can leap tall buildings in a single bound, or be more powerful than a locomotive, 2 expressions attributed to the early days of Superman. Also the phrase, "Gee whiz, mister," is said, most likely in reference to his first appearance in Whiz Comics #2. His brother Freddie Freeman in older continuity is more of a sidekick, called Captain Marvel Jr. This happened after Billy transferred a portion of his power to Freddie in order to save his life. Mary Bromfeld is also traditionally Billy's twin and not his stepsister, and also a superhero in her own right by the name of Mary Marvel. There's an old Shazam sidekick called Talkie Tiger who gets a couple of nods. Billy as a kid wants a toy tiger from the fair, plus at the end he gives that scared girl a plush tiger. Also, if you look closely at the clasps connecting his cape to his suit, you can see tiger heads on them. Talkie Tiger is seen as a real tiger in the New 52 run as a link to Billy's past. But before that, he was an anthropomorphic tiger that has the ability to change into a larger saber-toothed tiger, which I just want to emphasize is ridiculous because the saber-toothed tiger isn't technically a tiger and only bears a slight relation to any version of the modern-day cat. And that's why you can't trust comics or house cats, because I'm fairly confident it's been them spreading that lie for decades. Fawcett Central High, Billy's school, is named after Captain Marvel's original publisher, Fawcett Comics, and despite this movie being set in Philadelphia, the fictional city Shazam often looks over in the comics is Fawcett City. There's some smiley faces seen on the care counselor's desk as a nod to Watchmen, and director David F. Sandberg confirmed there's a blood-stained smiley face button hidden behind the counselor's name tag. We get a skate ramp that has the word Arion graffitied on it, which is also the name of one of the most powerful sorcerers in the DC universe. We also get the home of the wizard Shazam in the Rock of Eternity, which in the movie is said to be the source of all magic, but in comics it's just a source of Shazam's. At the Rock of Eternity, we see a lot of weird stuff, one of which being a gold mirror that could allude to Francesca, the mirror entity that can appear in any reflective surface to those who have magic, whom we've previously seen guide Billy Batson. Also, remember those crocodile men behind the door? Those are most likely the crocodile men from the planet Punkus that are loyal henchmen dedicated to the monster society of evil, but more on that society later, if I remember, which I may not. When Savannah is watching TV, we see the report is coming from Galaxy Broadcasting Systems, a television station from the comics. There's also a nod to comic writer Denny O'Neil, as we see that name on a bus. And Billy's father's real name, C.C. Batson, probably hints towards C.C. Beck, co-creator of Captain Marvel / Shazam. Man, this DC universe is still going, stronger than ever, because Aquaman made a bunch of money, and people like Shazam. At the very least, we could end up getting a Justice League that consists of those two, plus Wonder Woman, Superman but only shot from the neck down, and to round it out, an ashtray full of half-smoked cigarettes left by a departed Ben Affleck. But this movie has a lot of hints towards what has come before. Freddy, being a superhero nut, has collected all manner of paraphernalia, including a bunch of superhero t-shirts. We see a Superman one with the Aquaman logo, and another with the Aquaman logo and the word Atlantis written on it. There's a bunch of articles in his room, including one on Superman in his drawer, plus this up on the wall, a Daily Planet front cover with headlines reading, Superman is back. Amazon woman and the Batman help combat Lex Luthor plans, in reference to Doomsday, plus the aftermath. Metropolis citizens pick up the pieces, which was of course from when Superman accidentally knocked down a bunch of buildings with Zod. People don't like it when I say that, because it's not entirely Superman's fault. And you know what? I am sorry. But also that's what happened. He also has a replica Batarang, plus an authenticated bullet that was bounced off Superman. Also, we see a stack of Cyborg and Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman merch from real life in the toy store that Billy crashes through. And we see a boy playing with Superman and Batman action figures, kind of jamming them together like in Batman v Superman. And in the background, as this is happening, we get Dr. Savannah and Shazam colliding in the sky. Also, of course, we get Superman showing up at the end in the cafeteria to the John Williams theme, which is a nice little touch. Rumor has it that they did try to get Henry Cavill to return to film this cameo, but he was unavailable, or he's not Superman anymore, or he is, or it's up in the air. Anyways, one of those reasons is why we didn't see his face. Still though, I'd imagine, surely they have like a 3D scan of his head, or just footage of him standing in front of a green screen that they could have used. But maybe then, you gotta pay Cavill a bit of money. I don't know. Look, the scene felt a bit off. Let's not dwell on it though. This film pays homage to a stack of other media, including movies and video games, and just those two things, it would seem, looking at my list. Being set in Philly, we get a couple of references to Rocky, including them sitting at the top of the famous art museum steps, plus we also hear the Rocky theme. Someone at some point says, a wizard like Harry Potter. I can't remember who, but I wrote it in my phone as I left the cinema, so I'm pretty confident that happens. We see the game Mortal Kombat being played, probably Mortal Kombat 10, seeing as that is the latest release. Eugene is playing that, also says Fatality later. That's when he's in superhero form, and he's very pleased that he's got the kind of deep Mortal Kombat voice. He also says Hadouken when shooting electricity, and not to Street Fighter, and makes mention that he found Billy's mum, but he's not a hacker, though he has played the game Watch Dogs, which I've heard doesn't live up to its potential, but the second one is a big improvement apparently. I don't know. I'm never gonna play it because I'm sick of open world games. How about some more games with a precise narrative and structure that takes place over a shorter, less grindy campaign that results in a more rewarding and focused experience? Do you ever think about that? Video games? Billy says to Mary that she needs to look out for herself, and that was something that Yoda once said. Yoda from Star Wars. This movie also pays homage to a couple of 80s classics. First of all, Big. Obviously, we get the whole boy becomes a man situation, but aside from that, Billy steps on a giant piano, which is probably the most memorable moment from Big. Or maybe it's the moment where a grown woman sleeps with a man who has a child's brain. I don't know, who's to say? Also, this movie aims for a bit of a spooky Ghostbusters vibe at points. A direct reference being the Sins breaking out from their statues, like the demon dogs do. When looking for a lair, Billy and Freddy request something behind a waterfall, which we actually saw in the Dark Knight trilogy. And Dr. Savannah's father is played by the same actor who was Lionel Luthor in Smallville. And if we're speaking of actors, Adam Brody portrays a souped-up version of Freddy. He was actually cast as the Flash in George Miller's Justice League movie that was supposed to film in like 2008, and it very nearly did. It got real close. Director David F. Sandberg also voices the deadbeat boyfriend of Billy's mum. Post-credits! Man, this is a weird one. Okay, first of all, I just need to mention, because otherwise I'll probably get yelled at in the comments, that we do get an animated look at a number of DC characters in the credits, including The Flash and Wonder Woman, and also others probably. Also, in the very last post-credits scene, we get Shazam trying to converse with a fish, like Aquaman, and also Freddy explaining that commanding an army of deep-sea creatures would be very cool, which is also, of course, the finale of Aquaman. But the one people are probably talking about the most is the inclusion of Mr. Mind, an alien worm of supreme intelligence that is also telepathic. Comics. He creates the Monster Society of Evil to basically spread negativity and bad times. And I mentioned this earlier, but Savannah having a run-in with him is taken directly from that New 52 run. No doubt these two and others are going to team up for all sorts of dastardly adventures in a sequel, or I don't know, maybe an alien worm is deemed too weird a villain. But also, is it? Well, yes, but anything can work. Even this. More alien worm, please. And that, my friends, is all the Easter eggs from Shazam that you could possibly want, requiring any more I would consider uncouth of you. That being said, if I've missed something, guess what? There's a comment section below that you can tell me all about it. Also, if you are interested, there's other videos on my channel that you may want to check out, including a look at that terrible Shazam show from the 70s. It's a fun video. And also a breakdown of the latest Joker trailer. Those I'll link at the end and below. Plus also on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. We're doing our in-depth Shazam review this Monday morning. The good, the bad, and such. Plus what it means for the future of DC, all of that. That's linked below also. It's available on many platforms, including Apple and Spotify and YouTube. But hey, thanks for watching this. I really appreciate it. Take care.